All right, folks. We're once again. I'm out here on the road. I'm just trying to find a place to pull off. But you know, it's kind of dark. It's kind of mystery. It's also the holidays. I've been looking. I could have sworn I saw Rudolph up in the sky, but he was doing a very, very specific one tier, one kind of like he's going from one direction, not really moving around too much. But I'm going. All right. So basically, this is it. It's the off night. We have Jason with us. We have a new guy named Steve. And we have, of course, Mark, who is your bass host and MC. And this is the off night, folks. So hold on to your hats. I'll try not to hit anybody on the road, okay? Mark, are you there? He's not there.
I'm here.
Oh, okay, good.
Oh, I'm not there? I thought I was here.
You're there. I see you now. Okay.
Excellent. All right. Good to see you. Oh, hold on. Let me take care of that music here. See if that works. I'm using a newer laptop. I'm not sure that's going to make this any better, but we'll see. Okay. I think probably not having a gazillion people on phones might help us a little bit. And with Sam being gone, that we'll see. I looked at last week's show. I couldn't actually watch the whole hour because of all the technical difficulties we had. It looks it looks better when I'm watching it on YouTube than it does when I'm watching it as we're creating it. So
yeah,
not nearly as bad as I thought.
Yeah.
All right. So how was your week going? I presume you're coming back from 12 Oaks Mall.
Yeah. The 12 Oaks Mall. The kids are just. It's like line after line now. I used to be able to get up and move around, but now it's just like massive lines. Now, every kid has the same Linus shirt on, which is great.
Now, are you compensated for this extra work? You know, no breaks and all that stuff, or what?
Well, basically, it's the way they set it up. I'm working with a second Santa, or he's my opener Santa, because I'm headlining. I'm the headliner Santa.
You know, in a few years you'll have a middle too who will come in and say he usually headlines Santas. You know. So.
Yeah, usually, yeah, and it's like and the opener Santa he's a prop act. Okay, you know, the guy's he's got a finger that lights up, and he's rode off the red-nosed reindeer's finger, and then he's got a whole series of like bags.
He's got a guitar, and he only knows 2 chords, right?
Yeah, he's got a fake elf list where all the kids' names written down in elfin, you know. But like, really, the guy's dressed in leather. He smells of leather, for crying out loud, you know. Now I feel like I'm the better Santa because I just work from the word. I create the images.
Now, do you ever have now? How often do you have kids that don't speak English? Do you ever get that?
I have a lot, but that doesn't matter because I speak toy.
Oh, right. Exactly. I mean, if you have a toy there, right?
You don't have to worry about speaking any language in the world. All you have to do is say, Jurassic Park. Oh yeah.
Legos,
TRX,
Legos,
Anna or Elsa. That's all you have to say. That's it.
Exactly.
Barbie.
I know the international language, you know.
There you go. So now where are you? So you're in transit between 12 Oaks and your home, right?
Yeah. So what I'm trying to do is trying to get to a place that has I have an ambient light, which works pretty well. It's a beer cooler sign that I use to be able to have the light on my face. It's a great light.
All right. Now,
so I have to it's off Ford Road next to a speedway.
Oh,
so
okay.
if I park right there, I got this ambient light. It looks great. But I was running a little late today because I was trying to find an extra belt.
Now, without giving away Santa's address, do you take 275 down to Michigan Avenue? Is that how you get home?
From the North Pole?
No, I avoid that road because it's just too much crap going on. I usually take Beck down.
Oh, okay. All right.
And, Beck is usually open, very smooth, not too crowded.
Yeah.
And you don't have the crazy Challenger guys, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Those guys are nuts.
All right. Well, we've got I think you announced it, but I'm going to say it again. Sam Greenfield isn't with us. Nothing urgent like it was the last time he wasn't with us. He hasn't broken any ribs or anything like that, but he said he couldn't be here. I didn't ask too many personal questions, so he won't be here. But we got Steve Smargon in his place, one of our favorites from the Young Club. And we'll talk about the Unclub when we get everybody out here. But right now, it's time for Susan.
All right.
Hold on. Let me see if I did this right. This will work out great. Watch this. Watch your screens, ladies and gentlemen. Watch this.
What do we watch?
Watch this crafty little maneuver I've made. All right, here we go. Oh, shoot. No, that's not what I meant to do. All right, hold on. I'm going to put her name in here.
Ooh.
Tell it right.
All right, here we go. Here's Susan with this week's In the News poem.
Okay. Today's poem, reporter Grant Wall died during Soccer World Cup. Qatar needs to answer. Could this be corrupt? Did you hear about GitHub that hosted an app to sell Muslim women, a slavery trap? High crimes humiliating women is app Sully Deal's style. Mr. Thakur in Delhi, India is going to trial.
Ooh.
Orion capsule splashed down from the Artemis ship. Back to Earth it came at the end of its trip. And that's your poem of the news this week. We have a delay on the video. Hi, everybody.
It's not enough of a delay to bother me that much. So anyway, that's the poem. A little short this week. That'll serve as our agenda for things to talk about. And you guys can bring up all your topics too. But right now, joining Andy and I is a man who's become a regular now for about the last 12 weeks. He's also our regular opener at the Unclub on Sunday night because he does a great job of that. And a job that a lot of people don't really want, but this guy relishes in it. Here, please welcome back to the off night, Mr. Jason Grant. Hey, Jason.
Hey, guys. So, Andy, you're saying I should keep toys in the car with me?
Toys? Jason, I would say, yeah. I don't say, I don't, I'm trying, I could swear I see you hanging around the set, taking snapshots. Okay.
Dude,
I see you behind the tree just staring at the kids. That's the problem, okay?
So given that you're not allowed too many breaks, do you have to explain that the reindeer had an accident?
I'm not quite sure. Well, basically we have a bunch of trees around. It's okay,
It's a German thing.
And I also have a stadium pal, okay?
Okay.
Thanks, stadium pal. Why does Santa smell like urine? Oh, he's using his stadium pal.
He's using the stadium pal.
There.
I think I use that.
We're talking about where you keep your toys. Santa, is it okay? I keep my toys in the bedroom.
Oh.
Hello.
Hello. Well, I did have a group of people that probably would appreciate that.
I keep mine
in the set.
I keep mine.
That line by my wife just got my daughter to leave the room. So.
Oh dear.
Oh wow.
No.
She's had enough of that talk.
No, I can
just see you guys in the bedroom doing cocoa melon with each other.
It's 8:00. This is still the family hour.
Well, I'm just talking about cocoa melon.
Right. Well.
We're in our 60s, and 7 of our 8 children are now adults. So the mystery of our bedroom is not that mysterious anymore.
Well, at this point, it's more horror show than mystery.
It's actually a mystery. It's like, do they still do it? No,
Well, you see, those are questions better.
How can they possibly still be doing it? Okay.
And if you do get an answer, that's when you're screaming, "I'm blind! I'm blind! God strike me dead now!"
I can't unsee that.
The thought of my parents in their late 50s with their skin commingling, their backsides flopping up and down in some strobe lit. No, it's just, even for my taste, even with my ability to handle the bizarre, could not. That would be like Night of the Living Dead featuring my parents and Ron Jeremy on meth.
It's just a Captain Kirk trip on another planet. That's all it is, all right? Anyway, you should have been there. You should have been at the Unclub last night, because we had a poet who went up and basically taught everybody how to bring a woman to orgasm.
All right, now, hold on. As long as we're talking about the Unclub, it's time to get our new guest out here.
Yes.
Right.
He's been part of Chili's Dojos and the Unclub for years. And he's going to join us on our New Year's show. Oh, I forgot to tell you guys about that. We're having a New Year's show.
Fantastic.
But he's the first guy. He's the first guy I called to make sure that we actually have a stellar lineup. And here he's joining us for the first time tonight. Please welcome Steve Smargon.
Yes.
Hey, all right, Steve.
Steve, good to see you.
Yep. Good to see you.
Now, as long as I brought it up and I let the cat out of the bag, we are doing a New Year's Eve show, but it's 5:30 to 7:30, so we will not be ringing in the New Year, which is just fine with me. I really have stopped doing New Year's shows, but when they told me 5:30 to 7:30, I said, "You're talking my speed now." That's the type of New Year's show I want to do. So
5:30 to 7:30. Okay.
5:30 to 7:30. It's going to be at the same place. I get to choose the lineup, which means Joe is not going to be there. Unless you want him there, Jason, to pick on him in the audience.
No. I can still pick on him without him being there. Everyone will know exactly.
that is so true. That is true.
Like
he will imagine whenever he's not there, he always imagines the things that we're saying about him.
I can go into my new mentalist routine where I'm sensing a virgin. Hold on, where's Joe the animal? As he helps delineate the difference between dry spell and incel. One is someone who can't get laid. Someone is a guy who's unfuckable. And I think we have Joe there to illustrate that.
Anyway, Steve and I have an even longer history with Joe than you two guys do. So,
oh dear.
But he seems to rub everybody the same way. So.
I do remember the time I teabagged him on stage. He wasn't happy about that. I, on the other hand, thought it was the height of comedic improvisation that night. But, well, that's the way it goes. What are you going to do?
No, I still think the best improvisation was when I sang "My Way" while you were telling your 4th Street sex story.
Oh yeah, with the complete with the late 70s glory holes in the nickel, the quarter arcade. Yeah, if only they were a nickel, you'd have never got me out. But I do remember those were the days, man. Good thing for some of those guys that I was just sort of young and naive, and I didn't smoke or carry a bladed object with me. Because it could have gotten.
All right, so tell me about this poet that was at the Unclub last night.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, she was.
Steve, I wasn't there. I wasn't, but for Steve and the rest of the people watching, I was not there last night. I had a show, so Kurum took my place as the host and MC. All right, now what about this? What about this poet that we saw?
Well, she's a young lady. She came on. She's the last one up. Corum brought her up. And she basically said, I got a poem, and it's going to be totally erotic. And if anybody doesn't want that, you should leave now. I said, so she starts onto this poem. It's like, it may have been erotic, but, what she was talking about is like, trying to get 25 orgasms somehow in the middle of it was all so complicated. It was like watching a Rubik's Cube to figure out what the hell was going on. It's like, okay, so we have to do all these tasks, like a Herculean task, just to get this to happen. It kind of made it sort of like, that's just too much.
Hold on. You did say the payoff was 25 orgasms, though, right?
For her, not for you, for her.
Oh. Well, you didn't say that part. Okay, I missed.
I was trying to explain that. Yeah. So it's sort of like, So somehow this Herculean task had to be done in order to make this thing work. And I said, okay.
For a man like me, that's kind of wasted information.
Well, if you make the equivalent poem I came up with was blowjob. Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay.
Oh dear. Yeah. Unfortunately I had to miss last night just because there was essentially $500 on the line. Andy, you understand how the Uber thing goes, and so I had to make my money because the kids are pretty much gone now. Out of town, and so that was the last big money shot, as it were.
Yeah. So what you get 90?
For those of us that don't,
you went for 90 rides.
I'm sorry,
Jason. You went for 90 rides.
No, I went for 60. and did manage to get it. And there's obviously some other payoffs involved there, and some personal stuff. And it was just an incredibly busy 48-hour period.
Got it.
And
now, for those of us who don't drive for Uber, explain to what all that means.
Well, essentially, it just because Uber is run by rapacious insects that are doing their level best to crush all human existence. They set these total number of rides.
Wait a minute, you're a Republican. You're a Republican. Please be kind to.
Yes, I know, and Uber was envisioned and supported by Democrats. Although the guy who started it claims to have been an Ayn Randian, and remember, the Democrats and the Republicans get together to hate Ayn Rand. So, I mean, it comes from sort of this triangulated position of really high-powered, elucidated bullshit. The bottom line is the rich get richer and the poor get done up the backside like the bridegroom in a Caligula's wedding. And if you've seen the movie, you know what I mean. The guy
that was Hurt. John Hurt.
Sounds to me like if you 48 hours. If you did 48 hours for him this week, and it sounds to me like you're kind of volunteering for it.
Well, I mean, it was just. Am I out there like the trained seal barking for the last few sardines?
I said if you did 48 hours for him this weekend.
Yeah. I can barely hear you, Mark. You're cutting in, you're cutting out.
Yeah. Yes, you are.
Sorry, dude.
It's cutting in. Sounds like a song there.
There you go. That's a little better.
So.
Hey, I tried to sell out to the man. Very recently, I went up to the place where they hire the prime guys, and I offered them my soul. After they got finished laughing at me, they threw me some expired Arby's coupons, said, "Okay, old man, we'll call you, don't call us." And there you go. So, I mean, I have made poor choices in life. This is what I do for a living now. So there you go.
There you go.
Do I have to sit on my hind legs and take what my corporate overlords offer? And the answer is pretty much yeah. That's it. That's it. I should bring my own lube. I would have no problem going down on robot cock if they just made it taste like bacon. It would be a lot easier to do. But
got it.
This is the world. Sorry for the profanity, but we're after 8 now, so most of the kids aren't listening anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kids never tune in to this streamcast.
No, that's true.
No.
As soon as they see 4 bearded white guys, they're gone.
Oh,
they're done.
Oh my God, that'd be the name of the worst punk band ever. 4 bearded.
Four bearded white guys. 4 bad wise men.
Oh my God.
4 wise guys. I gotta tell you. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Ronnie. I don't know. Hey.
So, but that's sort of the good news, bad news of it. Yes, I missed last week, but the thing is, the schedule is open for the next few weeks because there really is not that much to do here in a college town with no college students. So there you go.
Well, you are correct, sir.
All right.
Yeah. At least Andy can go out there and parade around.
Steve, what have you been up to?
I was telling Andy I went to some tiki beach bar place and did a comedy contest.
I like it.
Yeah, it was. I wanted to work on some new stuff, and I was like, all right, if this tanks, it's a comedy contest, and nobody will be able to tell anyway. So I show up, and one woman has brought 60 people.
Oh
my God!
Oh,
yeah, she basically brought the whole audience. So I walked in.
I love when that happens and that person loses.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where it's like the funniest person in the office, and then they go and it's like they crush it because they're in front of all their friends who want to support them, and then they go out and try and do a regular show, and they get their soul ripped out, and that's the moment I live for.
There you go.
I'm not bitter or jaded at all.
No.
It started off interesting. I walked up to the host and I gave him like a little intro just to let people know that there was like at least a semi-professional in the building. And he's like, "Oh, I don't have time to read that." I'm like, "What do you mean you don't have time to read that, man? It's like you're hosting the show. Just it's a sentence, you know." So they're going down the whole thing, and it was, you know, it was a very diverse lineup. Yeah, it was like they were trying to check all the boxes, and just, you know, like I said, watching them go up, and then finally it got to be my turn, and then I went up there, and it went well. The end result was I ended up taking second place. I lost. It was an audience vote, so I lost by 10 points, and I had nobody there.
Well, that's great.
So, yeah, they were all kind of shocked, and I'm like, yeah, you know what? If it hadn't been that close, then I would have pulled a Virginia Woolf and filled my pants with rocks and walked into Walled Lake. I just, you know,
there's a point.
Yeah.
I love that.
And
that's so
the sad
lyrical.
thing is, I would have been the only person in the room that probably got that reference.
Oh my God.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Here's my rule on contests, and this happened when I was out in LA, and I got a call from a comic I had worked with throughout the South that was actually from Chicago, and she had just done a contest called the Johnny Walker Red National Comedy Competition. Andy might have been around long enough to remember that one.
Yeah,
remember that one?
Yeah, I remember that. Anyway, I remember the one that Tony Hayes won.
Yes. Well, anyway, I won the LA. That was when I was in LA, and I won the LA version of that. And she called me up. She goes, "I just did this in Chicago," and I said, "What chance do I have? I mean, isn't that all hand-picked, and don't they know?" She goes, "No, it wasn't like that at all." And she says, "And the judges they have are booking agents from around the country." I said, "Well, I'm going to be there then." And so that competition back in 1988 made my whole career.
Wow.
Because it was Jimmy Miller, Dennis Miller's brother, at the time was booking the Comedy and Magic Club in Hermosa Beach. I got 3 weeks out of that showcase, and it was just a 5-minute showcase. I just did 5 minutes of my goofy shit, you know. And now he's the manager of Jim Carrey, so he doesn't have to do anything else besides make his 15% off whatever Jim Carrey does. And Mike Lacey was there. He owns a club out there. Jamie Murata, who owns the Laugh Factory. Bob Fisher, who owns the Ice House. Jan, can't remember Jan's last name now, but he booked Igby's. They had like 6 judges from the 6 top clubs in Los Angeles. And it made me. Just 5 minutes, and it was, and I was going to skip it until Rami Angelic called me from Chicago. She had just done it like 3 days earlier, and she says, "You got to do it." It's just, and that's my rule for everybody: is don't do it if there's not going to be judges that can help you, or audience members, or whoever is there. Now, LA, obviously, it wasn't just judges. If you're going to do it in Podunk, Idaho, obviously. When they bring judges in, like a lot of these festivals where they bring people in, you'll often see Eddie Brill as a judge on something like that. He's the old Letterman talent coordinator. But in LA and New York, you don't have any problem having people see if you're doing one of these things. But yeah, that's my rule now. Only if people that can book you are there to see you.
So you're saying we should do the Diane Arbus comedy festival then, right?
Who's Diane Arbus?
She's a photographer who famously killed herself. I mean, just kind of following up on the depressed woman kind of comedy show sort of thing. And I'm sorry, it's way too old. I know. I mean, I think
the poetry about 25 orgasms takes care of that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Her husband was actually Alan Arbus.
Alan Arbus, yes.
Who you might know as Dr. Sidney Friedman from MASH.
From MASH.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
And she was also, I love photography when I still do love photography. She was a brilliant photographer, but she was a deeply, deeply, deeply depressed woman, and would be a great name for like the worst comedy show ever. I could imagine the top 3 prizes for like the most depressing acts. that make you just want to go out and kill yourself. And
you know what? When we start doing theme shows at the Unclub again, maybe we can do that. You know, that's what's changed now, because the 3 locations we had for the Unclub before the Ale House were not commercial restaurants or bars.
No,
they were art studios for the most part, or theaters. Right. And so we could do stuff that we wanted to do, whereas we kind of feel a little bit of pressure to please the audience that's there for these things.
Well, but Ale House has been pretty good. I mean, for the most part, I've gotten a good response out of them. I mean, and you know, I can be hit and miss. There's no doubt about that. Some people are going to like me, and a lot of people not so much. But I feel free to go out and do what I do, you know, and not try and stick to some preconceived notion of what needs to be done.
Right.
I mean, but you're right.
Well, here's another thing too. When
the theme shows were fun.
Yeah. When we were at the Mix, I don't know if you remember this, but we did Christmas and New Year's shows.
Okay.
We can't do that at a bar. They didn't want people don't want to work. You know, when everybody at the theater was a volunteer and we were just doing whatever we wanted to. I already talked. I told you guys we're doing a New Year's Eve show earlier, so everybody can still do their regular gigs. Yeah. And I got to talk to Tim and the staff over at the Ale House. We'll probably do a Super Bowl show because we've always done a Super Bowl show.
Oh, I love a Super Bowl show.
And we've always done an Academy Awards show. Anytime there's a big event that draws people away from the clubs and the other clubs close down, that's our time to shine. Now, we used to do the Unnies. Have you been to an Unnies show? The Unnies
it's been a while for me.
The Unnies was our mockery of an award show where we gave away awards for the Unclub. And that was always in October because that was our anniversary date. But I'm thinking of doing it the night of the Oscars since we do a show that night anyway. So we'll see. That takes a lot of work, and I don't have Chili Chalice helping me anymore, like I did the first 3 years I did that. So we'll see how long have we
been without Chili?
Chili was great for that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
it's been 4 years.
Wow.
Chili died 80, 18. What is it? 4 years. 4 years ago in October.
I don't try.
Yeah, I miss, especially on Mondays. I used to talk to him every Monday.
You know, pre and post COVID melancholia, because it's very easy for me to just seriously dip into it. I'm no different than anyone else. You know, I mean, I don't know. I was just at this place picking up some Chinese food. It's the last decent Chinese restaurant in Ann Arbor. Andy, you know, it's up there on Upland. You know, right there by P&B the Upper. But at any rate, this little shopping center used to have this really nice little French restaurant, which is closed and has been shuttered since COVID. The Chinese restaurant that I was at today, they didn't even have the heat on in the building. Now it's pretty hot in there anyways, but I mean, and nobody was inside when you used to have to kick your way to the front of this thing. I noticed at least 2/3 of the stores in this little strip mall are all empty now. The Wendy's closed down.
Yeah.
What do you do to screw up a Wendy's franchise? How does that happen?
Well, I gotta say, I drove through to try and eat some of the food. I can tell what was going on in there. It was just So how do you screw up a Wendy's franchise? You hire the wrong people.
Well, they probably did that to some degree, but still, it's just a shame to see that you know that there has been no return to normalcy just yet.
My daughter, the summer of 2021 or 22, one of the COVID summers, she worked at Tim Hortons, the donut shop.
Wow.
In Cafe, yeah. And they were a money-making machine. I swear to God, they're a money-making machine. And they got shut down because they were working their minors too many hours.
Oh, wow.
They got greedy. They got kids making $12 and $13 an hour and said, let's work them 18 hours a day. So they got caught because my daughter was one of them. And of course we reported them. So And then we reported them and then just got out of the way. Lansing's coming. I told my daughter, Lansing's coming today. You better call in sick.
Oh my God.
It's going to be ugly.
Well, it's not like she was working at the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory. I mean,
yeah, that's true. That's true.
I mean,
well, she didn't like it because the management there was just hire more people.
Yeah.
At these low wages, and they didn't care about the turnover or anything. And my daughter just finally quit. One, because they closed it down, but she didn't transfer to their other stores like the other ones did. A lot of those kids needed those jobs. She didn't, so she just
three of the five,
something else.
3 of the 5 Jimmy Johns. Now, this is the University of Michigan. 3 of the 5 Jimmy Johns in and around campus are gone. Mm-hmm. That to me is just kind of crazy.
Screw that up.
I mean, I'm not the big Jimmy John's supporter. What Subway was Jared's company, and I've never been a big fan of their product line, or Jared for that matter.
Remember that ad campaign they had for $5 footlongs?
Yes.
When I was in New York.
Yeah.
They were all like $18, and I never heard the ad for $18 footlongs. I just didn't hear the same tune for that one.
Imagine not. Oh, it's disappointing. I keep looking around and hoping that we finally have reached the sort of post-COVID nirvana, which looks like mid 2019, and I don't know. Don't see it coming around the corner anytime soon. I mean,
well, I'm waiting for the airfares and the hotel rates to come down.
Yeah,
because
I live in a time when we finally are paying attention to a trade made for the WNBA. So.
Oh, somebody did a great line. I can't remember what show I was watching. I don't know if it was Seth Meyers or Colbert, but somebody did a great line about how a lot of people think that was a bad trade. The arms dealer for Brittany Griner, he goes, but he was only scoring 5 points a game and wasn't getting any rebounds. Such a great line.
Oh, that is good. Yeah. I mean, it's a far cry from the days of we'd be exchanging Francis Gary Powers for some Ruski, watching over the Bridge of Spies somewhere in East Berlin. Nowadays, it's not done that way, I guess. So there you go.
Yeah, I guess
no Richard Burton at the.
Yeah, exactly. No spies coming in from the cold.
Yeah,
that's just the way it worked, and
he's a bastard. Yes,
Although, I mean, and how weird is this? Maybe this is a sign we're in the end times. The Lions have won 5 out of 6.
I'll agree with that. I think it's two things are happening simultaneously. It's possible Armageddon, and the Lions are winning.
Yes, exactly.
I do not want the end of the earth to happen like 3 days before the Lions play their first Super Bowl. That would be
horrible. Yes,
that would just be wrong. When people say God hates our team, that would just prove that the Detroit Lions were a cursed team.
Yeah, and we know the NBA would be behind it, even if it were the meteor of death coming our way. We would just somehow or another we knew that the commissioner was in charge of this. So
we still play the game though. That would be good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys following the World Cup, or did you bow out like I did after the U.S.?
If it comes to my interest in skinny European guys is limited to the exchange students up at North Campus.
All the engineering students.
You've been there, yeah.
The problem with soccer is it's not fast. Soccer is just not fast, Hockey is fast. Soccer is not fast.
I knew the U.S. was done when the team there that beat them, the Netherlands, had 3 goals, because that's more goals than we had for the entire tournament.
Yeah,
there wasn't a chance we were going to get 3 in one game.
But I mean, for crying out loud, I just can't watch soccer. It's just too slow. I mean, it's like a bunch of guys running around kicking the ball. I mean, at least in hockey, you at least have somebody being checked.
Well,
you have people on ice. It's the same. It's the same game, but one is on ice, man. It's like.
But you know, our version of football, if you ever think of it, is the mirror opposite. We run a play, we stop, we examine it, we go. You know, we micromanage it. We line everyone up. We run one.
It's all the thing about our football is basically rugby with a time limit. You know.
Yeah, it's some sort of Napoleonic battle staged on this field, and again, everything is gone over with a microscope, and then someone reads out of a rule book that was obviously written by some group of attorneys, and
yeah. Well, the whole thing about American football, comparing to that to soccer it's not the same. It's basically
the opposite.
It's hockey. It's hockey.
It is the polar
soccer
opposite.
Is hockey on ice, you know.
Well,
I don't know about that.
Or hockey is soccer on ice. So
okay, yeah, I could see that. I
could
see
it's fast. It's fast, you know. But it's the same thing. And soccer is just way too slow. Those guys have chairs to sit on when they're out there, you know. So the only thing about their soccer is their umpires, you know.
You can get in hockey. You can also get a small rubber object shot at you at about 90 miles an hour. So
there's a hint of death, and that's in the audience. That's in the audience, you know.
Yeah, about to say that is one thing, one aspect. Although over the weekend, the NHL did sponsor a transgender hockey tournament that did feature a transgender person putting another transgendered person into a coma. By hitting them, so maybe it's not working out quite as well as they had hoped.
I mean, checking him into the wall, is that the deal?
Yeah, I'm not going to go into the he did, he, she, zer, ze, zim.
They
the whole
player you're saying?
Yeah, it's
player one put player two into the wall. That's what you're saying, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I'm going to simplify it just to straight up numbers and saying yes, this whole craziness of saying, oh, by the way, one is no different from the other when one can clearly crack the skull of the other one without too much trouble, and skate away unscathed, as hockey players often do, and somehow or another we're supposed to sit back on our haunches and celebrate the coming nuclear dawn.
Nobody is like the Hanson brothers, though. You can't get the Hanson brothers. There's nobody else like the Hanson brothers, you know.
Now, did they ever make it to the NHL?
The old-time hockey guys? Okay.
Well,
yeah, the Hanson brothers. Did they ever make it to the NHL?
Are we talking about the guys from Slapshot, or are we talking about the recording group in the mid-1990s?
Slapshot.
Okay, thank you. All right. Yeah,
did they ever make but weren't those guys actual hockey players that were in that movie?
One of them did. One of them played for the Red Wings.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know if they were all brothers. Yes, they were all hockey players.
Gordie Howe.
Yeah.
Old-time hockey.
Oh, yeah. and of course, that features one of the greatest soliloquies from a University of Michigan graduate when Strother Martin comes in there and does his locker room speech, which I found to be one of the most inspirational hockey room.
You guys look like shit.
Yes.
There are scouts out there, and you look like shit.
With contracts.
You mean Strother Martin is a Wolverine?
Yes, he was a great. He not only did
he was on the swim team, was he not?
He was a letterman. He was a nationally ranked swimmer. He was an athlete at the U of M, and he then spent his time in the United States Navy teaching diving and swimming during World War II. Huh. And I would have never guessed it either. But yeah, he sure as hell was a Wolverine. And
let's see, the thing is, if he did a halftime speech, it had to have the phrase "what we have here."
Yeah, you know, but
communicate. Well, could you imagine him running for president? What we've got
here is failure
to communicate.
The closest we came to him was H. Ross Perot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because Perot would come out there and just say crazy things, but they were so crazy. And at that time, it was either Bill Clinton or H.W. Sr. Perot came across as sort of the reasonable moderate in the bunch.
I tell you what, Perot, as crazy as that shit was that he said, and Lyndon LaRouche and Eugene McCarthy, all those guys, as crazy as they sounded, by today's standards, they're geniuses.
Oh yeah, well at
They're
least we're still talking
genius.
about them.
Steve, what have you been working on?
Nothing. Nothing.
Have you come out of the bunker yet?
Wait a minute, you still have mine.
I'm still working on the bunker myself. I can't clean up my room. Are you coming out of the bunker yet?
You know, it was funny because you talked about the COVID stuff, and it's like right before that happened. I mean, I had finally, gotten to a stage where I was working every week and, headlining and all that. And then the lockdown hits, and then it all disappeared. And then I'm, trying to get it back. And I've got bookers asking me, is like, well, how many social media followers do you have? And and all this stuff. And I'm like, no, I don't do that. I'm like, my kids do that. I'm like, I don't do that.
Do you do anything?
You know what? You can go ahead and put me on the same stage with your flavor of the month, TikTok, whoever, and then we'll see who comes out. You know what I mean?
Well. Again, this is purely just my own observations from doing what I do, driving the kids around on campus. It is amazing amongst the younger people that I encounter here, and I'm not trying to be, I'm not trying to be funny here. Is that a lot of them are actually really open to like some old school comedy. I mean, I run some old Sam Kinison routines and things like that. I know they're old. These kids have never heard anything like that, and they're absolutely falling out. I think a lot of them have been conditioned to hear very safe, clever, but rather bland humor. And when they hear something that's transgressive or aggressive or something, they seem to enjoy it. They seem to like it, and whether that's going to be something that's writ large, I don't know. I'd like to think so. Your kids have always been sort of the foundation of sort of a rebelliousness within a society. You don't want to see a bunch of rebellious oldsters looking like me. It's like, what's the matter, guys? The cemetery closed today. They didn't take your seating at the restaurant for the midday old person special. What something of any real social significance is the younger kids kind of rising up and saying no more of this shit. I don't know. It's just the way I see it. Whether bookers will see it that way, I have no idea.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, I've never understood like ones that go to a show or anyone that looks to be offended by something. That's the part that bothers me. I mean, because the way I look at it is that, you know what, if you want to be included in society as an equal member and have an equal voice and everything like that, then learn to take a friggin' joke.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I've been doing this for a little while, and I don't know of anybody that, I mean, if you're taking anything that a comedian says as a call to action or to go do something like to harm another group, you're already a little bit, you were pretty gone to begin with. I mean, we do this shit because we failed truck driving school. We backed over too many cones.
Yeah,
I mean?
Hey, I didn't fail. I just became a bus driver. Okay.
Exactly.
Couldn't get hired at Prime. Yeah.
I see parents push their kids to do this, like on America's Got Talent. And I'm like, that's child abuse.
Yeah.
I'm like, stop it, knock it off. I'm like, if I had gotten, just a couple of more hugs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but Steve, what are your experiences these days? I mean, when you are out there, what's your feedback from the audience like? I mean, do you agree, disagree? I mean, how are they reacting to the stuff you're doing?
Well, I mean, I understand if, I mean, when you start off, like I said, there's a lot of the new people that they're just trying to be shocking and edgy.
Yes.
Yeah. And they don't, first off, learning how to read a room comes from experience.
Yes.
Sure
and you know how it is. It's like we could have 200 people laughing, and if there's one guy in the front row with his arms crossed, it's our personal mission. We're going to make him laugh.
We're going to make him laugh, right?
Yeah, that's just
we're
going to focus on that
ridicule him in front of everybody else.
Right.
Yeah. Make him pay for his non-laughter.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I like I said, I mean, I go up there, I get introduced as the bipolar Marine.
Oh, I love it.
So, because I tell people it's like, I do the same stuff. I used to talk about the same stuff I talk about in therapy, except now I get paid for it.
Exactly.
Because, I mean, to me, it's a serious thing. It's like, for the longest time, and like I said, meeting Chili, and then him slowly pulling this stuff out of me, because, it takes balls to go up there and just put something that has been told to you as a weakness, like depression, which I've dealt with since I was a kid.
Right.
And like I said, I mean, my attitude now is, what, if you want to come and say that I'm weak because I deal with depression, line forms to the right, be my guest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I've lost so many friends and so many other veterans because, they clam up, they don't talk about stuff.
Right.
And I'm like, I mean, to me, other comics talk about how they have to do I have to. This is my outlet. This is my therapy. Talking about this stuff, it keeps me from, shutting down.
Right.
So like I said, when I go for times without shows, it's really difficult for me.
But now that we're back to doing some shows, even if you're, whether you're doing a show up and go up or something that's been booked or anything in between, are you getting a good rise out of them? Are you seeing people who want to laugh?
Yeah, the problem I have, and my wife is a great sounding board for this, and and Mark and Chili have done that, is I have to remember that things that I've made peace with, that I'm comfortable with,
right?
Not everybody is.
Yeah.
I mean, Chili. One of Chili's big things for me was he's like, you have to smile more. Because a lot of times I'm not aware of what I'm projecting, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I asked him one time, I'm like, why? He goes, because you look like you'd have no problem throwing a baby down a well. And I'm like, okay, yeah. Now it makes sense now.
Valid observation.
In the dojos though, when that's used as an example, we're always quick to say that we don't want them to change this material. We always tell the no, don't change the material. That is you, but just smile to the audience so that they don't think that you're going to go off on them. Let them know that they're in on the joke. You always want the audience to be in on the joke, and that's a lot of the problems with some of the comics I see, that they don't care if the audience gets the joke or not. They're there for them. It reminds me of Van Gunter. I don't know if you guys remember Van.
Oh yeah,
but he had a great line. I used to love this line. He goes, "I'm just here for me. If you guys enjoy it, it's a bonus," which was completely the opposite of his real attitude,
right?
Which was, he wanted the audience to go along with him. Yeah, by saying that, it really lightened things up.
One of my pet peeves, real quick. One of my pet peeves, real quick, is always around a comic that won't adjust their material for the audience. I'm not saying pander to the audience, but I mean, I've worked with a few that just, they're going to stick with what they're doing, regardless of whether or not the audience is enjoying themselves. And that's just something, I mean, like I said, I mean, there's a difference between pandering and, because if you put yourself from the audience, it's like, everybody's got the job, the grind, the kids, the bills, all that stuff. And, especially when you become a parent, if you can get a night out, you're looking to escape for a little bit.
Yeah. You want to
just like when you go to a movie or something like that. That's how I look at it. It's like, I want people to leave having had a good time. That's, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Well, you see, I will say mean things, but I don't want to be thought of necessarily as being mean.
Right.
And I also swerve into again, I have a mirror. I know what I look like. I will swerve into various tropes, because that's just, look, this is what this is me. And we can go one of two ways. I can swerve into it, or I can go the opposite direction and try and pretend I'm so, and sometimes you can pull that off, when you're
right.
Judy Tenuta used to do all that when she was always talking about how, I mean, Judy Turner was great, but she'd always talk about how she's the goddess and all that, and but let's face it, she was not a 22-year-old ingenue up on the stage.
No,
but she was hysterical. She knew how to again. She could swerve into and out of that character. She could be somewhat abrasive and insulting to the audience, and at the other times have the audience eating right out of the palm of her hand.
Yeah, you know what though? You when you watch that when she was insulting, it was always I'm just kidding. It was always
exactly.
I'm just kidding.
It was
she had
always
that little twinkle. She had that.
Yes,
yep,
tongue in cheek.
She had the twinkle in her eye, and
yeah,
it was just
I one of the things that made me the first time I saw her, she got called out for an encore, and she steps up to the microphone, looks at her, and goes, "Thank you. You people mean nothing to me." I mean, and it was just the way she said it. Because yes, I mean, it was just exactly the wrong thing to say, and it was just hysterical, given her whole set. After talking about what was the name of her brother that was always her foil. It wasn't Cosmo. It was I don't know, but she always had a brother character.
Wasn't his name Brutus or something like that?
Something like that.
It was some old mythological king's name or something like that.
Yeah,
mythological guy.
And she would use much
Boris
the way
or Brutus or something like that.
Yeah, much the way Moms Mabley was always talking about her old man. Even though Moms Mabley, Jackie Moms Mabley was a lesbian her whole life. She was never married. Rodney Dangerfield always talking about his wife and his kids. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's not necessarily talking about real people, but he is creating characters for people to relate to, and again using them as foils in one way or another, and getting the audience to buy. And you bought into it. You suspended disbelief. You bought into the story that the comedian was telling. So sometimes when I'm up there and I'm doing one of my rants or something like that, I don't know, but I mean, I seem to have been getting some good responses from them. Obviously, the stuff that I'm saying is kind of hard edged and a bit mean, but there has to be some sympathy going on there, because otherwise, why are they kind of laughing and applauding when I'm done? Other than maybe they want to see me get off the stage and move on to Joe the Animal or whoever's coming up next. I don't know.
Well, I think Joe the Animal has a lot of fans there. So.
No, I mean, I've actually been really pleased with the way the Unclub has responded of late. And some of the material that I've been doing is stuff that I've been kicking around in bits and pieces for a very long time. And now it's just finally coalescing into something that's actually doable, repeatable, whatever.
Well, when I'm watching your sets, Jason, I feel like I'm in one of those movies where the couple has their ship sunk and there's no one around to rescue them. Yeah, they're just kind of floating and they're going like this. Yes. And you're that little relief that comes along. Your lines are like that little. Maybe there's a piece of wood. Maybe there's a fish that they can catch to eat and survive. Maybe a jug of water comes by so that they can survive. They're going to die in the movie, but there's a little bit of relief.
I thought for sure you're going to detail a scene from The Town That Dreaded Sundown, where you have the young couple that goes to neck in the Lover's Lane, and it doesn't end well for them. Again, it's a form of characterization, but through those characterizations, I'm able to bring forth my own senses of frustration, and hopefully in a way that's funny at the same time. Otherwise, I'm just yelling at the audience. And you can go to downtown Ann Arbor and watch the homeless people yell at each other. What
was the Tom Hanks movie where he was on the island?
Castaway.
Castaway.
Oh, Castaway. Castaway. Yeah. So we're out with friends, and we've done a lot with them. We went to the Game 7 of the Wings winning the Stanley Cup, and our kids, our oldest boys graduated together like 25 years ago. Anyway, so we're at Castaway, and she nudges me. She goes, "Let's get out of here. This film is boring." And I'm like, I go, "We're staying. We're gonna see how this works out." She goes, I just can't do it. And so we talked to him later, at another weekend we're with him. And she was just bored to tears with it. And I said to my wife, I go, "We just can't go to movies with them anymore." So we try one more. We try one later. We try one where we went to see Apollo 13, and she does the same thing. She goes, "Oh, let's get out of here." I said, "Oh, that's it. We just can't go to movies with you guys anymore. There's no way." Maybe I go, and then my wife goes, "Maybe she's got something about Tom Hanks because Tom Hanks was in both
those movies." All right.
We definitely didn't go with them to see Saving Private Ryan. So,
got it.
Yeah, there's that. So,
he probably watches those Hallmark holiday movies, you know.
Well, I got a friend of mine whose wife is constantly, and I mean daily, watching those TLC or whatever they are movies about the wife who connives and schemes to kill her husband. And I'm like, Jim, do you notice what your wife is watching? Like every time I come over, and he's like, "What? Yo, she likes those things."
Yeah,
it's like
a girl can dream, can't she?
It's only a problem if she's rewinding and taking notes.
That's what which is what she's doing in between. You know, fortunately, she's one of those lady who keeps the box wine people in business. So by the time she gets to like the third box of wine that week, I'm sure she's pretty harmless, hopefully. But I'm like, I'd be hiding the silverware and the sharp objects if I'm you, dude. I mean, sleep with one eye open. I don't know what it is, but
during the pandemic, my wife got on a foreign language film kick.
That's great, though. I love that.
Oh man, they have some great films, and the ones I like the best are the Bollywood ones from India. Because it'll be something about a revolution where the underclass takes over the royal class or something like that. But like right about 2/3 of the way through it, there's a dance number where both the protagonist and the antagonist are dancing together. I mean, it's kind of like I feel like I'm watching West Side Story from India.
I was about to say, is that any worse than West Side Story? I mean,
it's exactly what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's just sort of there.
And I'm guessing that if you go to India and you go to a film and it's less than 3 hours, people probably come out going, "What a ripoff! It was only 3 hours." I mean, the films go on forever. I mean, there's no way in the U.S. if the film's going to be that long, somebody will go, why don't we sell it to Netflix as a 8-episode series or something like that?
Well, the when you talk about international films, I remember I went through sort of this Japanese film thing, and I wondered what the hell happened to Japanese people, and then recently, and I've not been able to sit through some of these Korean movies. What's the most? There was actually a Netflix series that just came out. It's
Squid Game.
Squid Games. I mean, it's like y'all are really into a lot of brutality, aren't you? I mean, it kind of makes Deliverance look like a quiet dinner date and a weekend getaway. I mean,
was that one Train to Busan? Was that the one that was about the zombies?
I don't know. I mean, again, some of the Korean films I've not been able to sit through. I mean, someone tried to get me to watch the entire In the Realm of Desire about a woman that kills her dates in the middle of making love, and it's like, no, I'm sorry, I'm out. I'm done. And so were most of her dates, right. Right.
Yeah, well, I bet the woman that did the poetry watched those films.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little much for my taste.
No.
So I'm hearing the music.
The music came, and music always comes in with 2 minutes to go. So thanks for joining us, fellas. Steve, you did a great job filling in for Sam Greenfield. You have to come back sometime when Sammy's with us.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, it was
he's
fun.
A lot. Anytime. You know what? I'm right now. I'm looking at a couple of new software packages. I'm not unpleased with StreamYard, although we do have a hard time when we have more than 3 people on here. With sometimes we have little delays and people get bumped off and stuff like that. But what can I say? We're using a free package. It doesn't cost me anything. So I'm sure there's more features if I bought the $25 a month package, but until we get advertisers, that's not going to happen. So. But anyway, thanks for joining us. Just to let the people know that haven't seen us before, you'll see at the bottom of the screen, click the like button on YouTube, and that's the YouTube page right there. Go ahead and subscribe to that, and you'll know when a show's coming up. We do it once a week. It's always Monday night. It's always 8 o'clock until further notice. I mean, things change. We call it the off night. It's on Monday for us. Another night that's our off night. That's what's nice about calling it the off night. Whatever night off night becomes the off night, that's what it is. So, anyway, so we'll be back next Monday night at 8 o'clock. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Steve. I'm Mark Sweetman. We'll see everybody next week.
All right.
You bet, man.
Merry
Take it easy,
Christmas,
guys.
folks. Just your pant legs.